Now, baby, you just say you need my love, girl. Nah, nah, I'll be right there by your side.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Harry with Church of the Eternal Logos. And tonight, I want to talk to you about the horrific topic of the history of cannibalism, from ancient ritual to modern day propaganda. And so I'm sure you guys know some of the happenings in culture right now. New York Times just put out a recent article arguing that maybe there's a time and a place for cannibalism. And I got to give a special shout out before we even get going to the Tristan Haggard over of Primal Edge Health. He put out a video yesterday that he did an edited video, premiered video, and it was great. And I want to promote his video that he just did on essentially the promotion of cannibalism, because I want to use an excerpt. We're going to watch just a clip of his video talking about Jacques Attali and some of the 1980s writings from this very enigmatic figure that has a great influence and support by Klaus Schwab in regards to maybe contemporary cannibalism. But today, and again, and shout out to Dyer, he was talking about it on his stream yesterday as well. And special shout out to everybody going to Nashville. I will be in Nashville this coming weekend. I'm driving down there tomorrow morning after my workout. So really looking forward to seeing everybody and meeting everybody down in Nashville. But anyways, I wanted to talk, and I got tons of articles. So we have so much to get into. I mean, I want to tie it to spirit cooking, you know, everybody's favorite Maria Abrahamovich. I want to tie it to everybody's favorite atheist, Dick Dawkins, Richard Dawkins, and his support for lab-grown human meat, again, to combat climate change. We got to fight climate change. And so, to begin, I want to lay, again, the sort of general paradigm of where do I see all this cannibalism coming from? Why is it trying to be normalized? Anybody who dives into the history of cannibalism will see that this is considered probably the most taboo thing done in sort of, the human happenings of history. There's pedophilia, there's bestiality, but none are as taboo across cultures, different paradigms, as cannibalism. And yet, in the year 2022, and it's been happening for the last decade, so this isn't technically anything new. It's just how more out in the open they are with their agenda is quite astonishing, and that's really what I guess people are waking up to is that as we watch Tristan later, and he clips sections from Jacques Attali's book. I mean, this stuff has been discussed since the mid-20th century. It's all been a plan. And so it's really interesting to see how, I would argue, climate change and this sort of preserving of Mother Gaia is the catalyst for much of the argumentation and the apologetics for why we need to begin eating human meat. And you guys might think that I'm crazy. I'm actually not crazy. We will be reading that New York Times article. I got a copy of it because I don't have a subscription to the New York Times because I'm a sane person. And so because of that, I had to find a link somewhere to another news place that sort of copied and pasted their article. But so we'll read it. And I got tons of articles from The Guardian, from all these mainstream publications. What does human meat taste like? Is it time that we begin to eat humans? And then I saw, in shout out again to Tristan in his video, like you can look up these science videos where people have like, the nucleus with the electron cloud swirling around the protons and the neutrons in the nucleus of these atoms. It's like, what? They are saying that that actually, there's a good biological nutrition profile for humans eating human meat. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's Kuru, for example. For those of you who've ever looked at like the Papua New Guinea people, they ate so much human brain that it actually caused the prions. So you eat, it's not advocated to eat human brains. And yet, of course, that's probably what they're going to try to feed us. You'll probably have a main course of cockroaches with a side dish of human brain here pretty soon while you're in your coon pod. But eating human brain, for example, we know actually causes Kuru, which is a disease where prions begin to eat your brain. It literally, portions of brain matter that should be there are just gone because the prions eat it. And I don't need to get too down the conspiracy rabbit holes, but if anybody wants to look up prions and maybe how they were noteworthy during 2020 and 2021 in regards to maybe certain medical medical procedures that were definitely advocated for en masse by the World Health Organization, the CDC, and everybody of great power and worth, of course. So I want to begin by arguing. So obviously, I believe this cannibalism is tied to this larger climate change narrative. We got to protect nature, which is really about a reversion back. And I've talked to it, 1,000 times. The progressive regression, the archaic revival. This is all about taking us back to a sort of pre-Christian, a primitive, barbaric world. A world in which magic and power ruled, right? It wasn't about morality. It was about the will. It was about power. It was about the power that could be exerted on other people. And the elites, ironically, are trying to take us back to exactly that place in history. But, of course, it's progress. It's the future. It's where we all need to go. It's where you can be fully machine and fully man. And so this cannibalism is, I would argue, the most demonic practice from a Christian paradigm, because it's the exact opposite. I would say this is the satanic Eucharist. the satanic Eucharist. And I'm going to lay out how cannibalism, actual human cannibalism, is the exact opposite of the Eucharistic tradition of Christianity. People want to say, well, you Christians, don't you guys drink the blood and eat the body of your Savior? I mean, that was one of the things about apologetics for the early Christians was, well, and who knows what some of those Gnostics were doing. So, but the early church, preserving the Last Supper, preserving the Eucharistic supper, the Eucharistic meal, the Holy Eucharist, substantiated these practices within the tradition as, again, how we are not cannibals. We actually eat the Eucharist to attain life. We don't feast on death. You see, the cannibal is actually eating death, and I'm going to bring that back to what I believe to be the feasting on death of our own death. You see, Christ doesn't feast on our death. We actually eat the Eucharist. We participate in a mystery with him so that we can live the exact opposite of cannibalism. And really Christ, as the last sacrifice, that's what he was supposed to be for the Jews. The last sacrifice. He is the anti-cannibal, right? The Eucharist is anti-cannibalism because what it does is sort of take all the accoutrements and the beliefs. I mean, theologically, why did people participate in cannibalism? Well, there's basically two reasons. So the first is like war. Probably the most common instance outside of survival. So you can get into all the, the Donner Party and all these historical examples of people, basically on the verge of death, eating dead people to preserve themselves. I'm not as interested in cannibalism for the means of survival. I am interested in ritualistic cannibalism, intentionalistic cannibalism at a communal level. And so there's basically two reasons why tribes and groups of people participated in cannibalism. One being sort of war, vengeance, and domination. And so there is this belief that when you beat somebody in battle, and this was true for many of the Turkish and Mongolian tribes through the steppes, because as I did, again, you guys can look back to my video on how Christ civilized the world. In this book, The Silk Roads, Peter Frankopan, who is not a Christian, from my understanding, talks about how Christianity actually civilized much of the world because it ended incest, instances of mothers sleeping with their children, instances of siblings sleeping with each other, not totally unheard of in the ancient world. Christianity ended that, and it also ended the barbaric practice of this sort of warrior cannibalism that these Turkish nomadic tribes would do that say, I go into battle, I'm with my groups, my men, we win. I would go to the most powerful man of my enemies, say the king or whatnot, and I would eat a piece of his flesh, I would cut off his head, I would crack his skull in half, and I would drink his blood out of his skull. And the reason why you would eat his flesh and drink his blood is because throughout history, there's this idea that blood is salvific, that it can heal you from remedies, and that if you beat a man in battle and you eat his flesh and you drink his blood, all the positive attributes of that entity you then acquire. So all his courage, his strength, all these things, then the cannibal can acquire in the person that he eats. And so this is clearly, it's still found today. There's instances of this barbaric warrior cannibalism where you eat the person that you just defeated, so that basically it's a symbol of vengeance. It's a symbol of total annihilation, that you just didn't kill this person, you've consumed this person, you own this person. And in a way, it's kind of like what is Shao Kahn, or who's in Mortal Kombat? Who's the guy that again acquires everybody's soul after they're died? Because that's another aspect of this sort of consuming of a person is a sort of like taking on their soul. And this is tied to the other aspect of why people ritually consumed other humans. The other side of this was for positive, that people would eat their dead relatives. And this is a known, and there's multiple examples of this in the Southeast Asia, where it's not so much you're eating somebody you've conquered in battle, it's that you eat your grandmother, your mother, your father. And this was idea, again, it's tied to this idea of soul, that somehow the soul is tied with the body and the blood. So, again, a very Christian presupposition that is going to be tied to the opposite of cannibalism, but again, the salvific opportunity of the Eucharist. But they would eat their mother, for example. Say your mother died. So it was deemed to be honorable. It would be honorable for you then to eat their body, to drink their blood so that insects wouldn't do it, so that their body wouldn't degrade. And by you taking and eating their blood, their body and their blood, that you sort of preserve their soul. And so their soul lives on with their family. And so some of these cannibalistic tribes, the families would eat their own family once they died, and they're thinking to preserve and unify themselves with the person who died. Ugh. Yeah. So these are basically the two instances of cannibalism that you can find ritualistically throughout history in different regards. I mean, for example, there's instances in ancient China where, again, this belief that, there was people were very sick parents, their kids would come to their parents in a last-ditch effort because they were sick and give them a piece of their thigh, sometimes would cut off a finger, and then the parent would eat it from their children. And China has a real interesting history, ironically, with this cannibalism stuff, because there's from some of the stuff I saw, there is arguments that they basically had markets where people could purchase other people to eat at one point throughout history. I'm not saying they're doing that now. They very much could be. I have no idea the market for human flesh in China right now, but historically, there was a much more prevalence of these things than certainly other cultures. And so blood within these cannibalistic circles was always considered to be the sort of life force. And that if you were sick, it's because you had bad blood. And so if you have bad blood, the way to get good blood is to consume other people's blood. And so even within medieval Europe, there's examples of public executions of criminals or people, and because they were believed to be quite healthy and still living, when they were killed, for example, there was one instance I read, I'm not going to get into this today, but there's one instance that I read where a man was beheaded in public. And when he was beheaded, the blood obviously started dripping down onto the street and into the mud and the dirt. And they were talking about these poor people who were quite sick and ill would rush to there to try to gather as much blood as they could to put it in their body to be healed from their infirmity. And so you see, again, Christ is a sort of the opposite. We do this with the Eucharist does heal you. The Eucharist can heal you. The Eucharist is the blood of God. But at the same time, it's bloodless and it's rational. And so this cannibalism, during the liturgy, for example, in Orthodoxy, we always say during the liturgy, this bloodless and rational sacrifice. So we believe that the Eucharist is, again, the ultimate symbol, symbolo, not a symbol meaning it's not real. It's the ultimate reality. The Eucharist is the ultimate reality, but symbolo to throwing together two realities. It's the transcendent reality of God and the temporal immediate reality of creation. That's what then is present within the Eucharist, and that's why it is bread and it is wine. But through a mystery, it's body and blood. It's not literal blood. It's not literal body, because that would be irrational. And so we don't participate in these sort of irrational activities. We participate in rational worship of the transcendent deity. So I argue that the cannibalism is ultimately a satanic Eucharist. It really is. In almost every instance I could find of people participating, not instances of cannibalism for survival, instances of cannibalism for the enjoyment, for the domination of, or for the continuation of that person's soul. Ritualistic cannibalism. That I couldn't help but notice that almost in every case, I would argue it's demonic. Everybody's like, well, yeah, of course, eating somebody else is demonic. Yes, but I mean like larger aspects of the culture and the worldview and how they relate. So So then I want to demonstrate how I believe that this satanic Eucharist, cannibalism, the actual eating of human flesh, is the exact opposite of the Eucharist. And this is why it's ultimately the demonic practice. And that's why is it that the New York Times, Dick Dawkins, all the major power players in the world right now, why are they trying to normalize cannibalism, the number one taboo in human history? We already know they're normalizing pedophilia with the minor attracted peoples. We already know they're normalizing incest through the pornography and now I've seen articles. I saw on TikTok some chick that was sharing her boyfriend with her mom. Weird stuff. I don't know what's going on with people's heads. And we, of course, know that bestiality is just around the corner, but is bestiality really worse than cannibalism? And if the establishment can normalize cannibalism, what exactly could they not normalize? And what exactly, if cannibalism becomes normal, how could you go further? What exactly? Tell me what you could do to go further than that. I don't think there is. So human cannibalism is the absolute inversion of the Christian Eucharist. So, number one, cannibals eat what is dead. A cannibal, when it's feasting on somebody in battle, if it's feasting on their dad, their mom, their grandparents, whatever are these tribes they come from. You know, there's one tribe in India that worships Kali. Kali, the tantric goddess in southern India, Tamil culture, that is the sort of western bank, the western edge of the Indian peninsula there. That cannibals eat what is dead. And for that group, eating humans was a way to sort of gain pleasure and appeasement of Kali, their gods. But Christ, the Eucharist is not us eating something that is dead. And instead, the Eucharist itself is actually alive. Christ is actually alive. The Eucharist is life itself, because we understand that Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And so his way is ultimately what leads you to the truth, because he is a person. Truth is a who, not a what. So truth is Jesus Christ. And as you pursue that life, as you pursue that path, you then will encounter the Eucharistic tradition of the church, which then allows you to become one and grafted into the body of Christ. That's what it means to be part of the church, is that you're entering into the body of Christ. I eat the body of Christ to enter my body so that I can enter the body of Christ, so that within the church, me participating in the body of Christ, the church, by eating the body of Christ, the Eucharist, I then am in communion with the body of Christ in the transcendent eternal realm of heaven. So, right off the bat, the understanding of life and death is totally the opposite between the Eucharist and cannibalism. We are not eating anything that's dead. In fact, we're drinking wine and eating bread mixed together, that in a mystery through the Holy Spirit, it is the reality. It's revealing the transcendent reality of Christ's life, his living essence. And that's what we're trying to commune with. And so the Eucharist in a mystery is also the whole body of Christ. This is another thing, is cannibals eat pieces of their victims. Cannibals, I got an instance of the Kentucky cannibal here in America. I'll show you guys, where he I guess he was forced to at one point through an expedition in Idaho, where he got caught in the mountains. This guy he ended up eating, he was the last survivor. He ended up eating he cut off 2 legs of one of the guys he was there with. There's a whole group of men. They all ended up dying. They got stranded out in the woods during the wintertime. And this one guy who was a criminal who fled Kentucky over to California, got mixed up with a group of guys. They got caught in a snowstorm in Idaho. He ended up eating the guy's leg, and he developed a taste for human flesh. Now, this whole dude's life was satanic. I mean, in regards to how he killed people, he killed his own cousin or family member, it was a sibling, I forget. We'll look it up. But, these cannibals eat pieces of people, the legs, the arms, the whatever. But the Eucharist, again, is not a piece of Christ. The Eucharist is outside space and time, so there is no proportion, right? It's not like you get a bigger piece of the Eucharist, you commune with more of Christ. I get a small little piece of the Eucharist, well, then I just get a little sliver of Christ. No, that's not how it works. The smallest little reality of the Eucharist is the fullness of Christ, his life, and his salvific work. So it's outside, again, the Eucharist, we understand that is outside the context of space and time because he is in the eternal realm. And so any little piece of participation in the Eucharistic reality is the wholeness of the reality itself. Again, another separation there. The Eucharist contains the soul of Christ because it's not dead. Christ is not dead. And us participating in the Eucharist then takes our humanity and synergizes it, harmonizes it, unifies it with the divinity of God. And we can think of that at a very logical way in the sense that through the mystery, the Eucharist becomes our body, right? The Eucharist becomes a literal piece of our body. The reality of Christ becomes a piece of our body inside of our stomach, our digestion. It literally, we are what we eat. And so what does that make the cannibal? He is what he eats. Is he the other person? And you see the conflation of identity and it really does get down to identity because the absolute rejection of the image of God in humanity is essential to the participation of this cannibalism stuff. And so the Eucharist contains the soul of Christ uniting us with his divinity. Cannibals eat humans, rather, to pacify their gods. And again, we can see this for an example in southern India with the group of cannibals that give devotion and bhakti to Kali. And I'll tell you what is one of the really interesting things that I thought about with this Kali thing is that doing some investigation. Guys, smash that like, too. We got people here. If you haven't smashed that like right now, guys, please. Preparing for this stream and doing some of the research, there's a little something called sexual cannibalism. And so sexual cannibalism, obviously you guys are probably familiar of it, much more often occurring in the insect world than the human world, but it's the instances where species participate in cannibalism, same special cannibalism, during the process or right after the process of copulation, sex, mating. And so obviously one of the most notorious examples of this is the black widow, right? The black widow spider, who much bigger than her male compatriots, that the male basically has to, compete with the other males to go up there and fertilize her, while she then is about 2 to 3 times your size and then kills you and eats you entirely. And that is the mating process for those species. And so I thought that's really interesting. So I started reading a little bit more about sexual cannibalism. And I couldn't help but notice that there are a few examples within spiders of males eating females. In every example, basically, there's one that has a much bigger, there's a size difference. So obviously the females that eat the males, which is by far the majority of the time, is much larger in those instances than the male. And I couldn't help but notice. I could not help but associate. Again, I can't go too far because there are examples of males eating females, but isn't it interesting that a cannibal group that still exists in India that, again, performs cannibalism as a sort of bhakti. Bhakti is a devotional practice back to a deity in Hinduism. It's a Sanskrit term. So their bhakti back to Kali is cannibalism. Kali is a tantric, radical female goddess, bloodthirsty goddess. And I did a video a long time ago on Kali and how she's sort of a perfect symbol, a metaphor for radical feminism. And then I thought about the Black Widow. I thought about this sexual cannibalism. And is our society participating in sexual cannibalism to some degree? Are males killing themselves in the efforts to procreate with females who are much more dominant than they are? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to take the metaphor too far, but I thought that was really, really interesting that cannibalism, sexual cannibalism, in examples of it in the natural world, almost are always dominant females eating males. And I couldn't help but think, is that symbolic of the culture that is being erected around us right now? I just did one on the thirst trap, on the sort of betification and the simplification of man, and how men are getting weaker and weaker. And I don't want to again exacerbate the sort of size difference. I don't think women are getting a lot bigger than men right now, but at a sort of expression of oneself, gender, sexuality, whatever, certainly the men are getting weaker and the women are getting stronger. We see that in our society. And then I couldn't help but notice that with the sexualization, the thirst trapping, all this different stuff. Is it a kind of sexual cannibalism? I don't know. But I thought that was really interesting, just to potentially tie those things together. So, also, in regards to the Eucharist consumes us. So a cannibal's consuming somebody else, and that somebody else has no way of consuming the person who's consuming them. The act of the Eucharist is actually the opposite, because as we consume the Eucharist, yes, we have to give our free will. We have to join the body of Christ, the church. We have to then align ourselves with God and receive. But it's through the Eucharist that it sort of consumes us back into the body of Christ, back into the church, back into the holy mystery of Christ's incarnation itself and the tradition, the church that has existed since then. So I thought, oh, well, that's really interesting. And the Eucharist, as I said, is a non-bloody and rational sacrifice, whereas the cannibal is doing the exact opposite. It's incredibly irrational. It's not exactly healthy, although I saw, again, shout out to Tristan, we'll watch a little bit of his video. All these science guys are the nutritional profile of human meat, it really matches what humans are looking for. Guys, you look at like interspecial murder or whatnot, a little bit different. So you can look at bears and like lions, for example. Male grizzly bears, male lions will kill the offsprings of female that aren't theirs to cause those females to go back into heat so they can mate and then produce with them. But they don't sit there and eat the babies. They will kill them for sure. And maybe they'll eat them. I mean, I saw bears actually. Bears will eat anything. I did see a grown bear eating a baby bear one time. But generally speaking, the purpose of that activity is not because the bear has a delicacy for other bear flesh. It's to cause the female to go into heat so that he can then produce with her. So it's interesting that there really aren't, as much as the science world wants to sort of normalize cannibalism and, well, it's natural, it's part of nature, spiders do it. Well, it's really still not even that prevalent. The majority of instances, I'd say 99% of the time in nature, species don't feast on themselves. They feast on other species. That's sort of the way of the natural cycle. And so that's also then the way of our natural cycle. We as mankind, we as humanity made in the image of God is the epitome of creation. And so we, recognizing the image of God in each other, do not eat each other. We participate. Death is only present due to the fall, and that's why we eat animals. But it's okay to eat animals. Again, just as the New Testament says, Peter, who are you to say what is unclean after God himself said it was clean? It's okay to eat. And so we don't eat each other. We eat life, yes, due to the fall, we eat other animals. And the majority of other animals eat other animals. Very, very few instances do animals eat their own species. And yet, these species, us, made in the image of God, that has all these higher faculties, are living in a world which is trying to normalize the idea that you either eat dead people, potentially, or you eat lab-grown human meat to save the planet. And I'm thinking, what? To save the planet? Couldn't you grow any type of lab-grown meat? Couldn't they throw out there, like, you know what? We need to eat more lab-grown beef. I mean, I'm not interested in it, but okay, at least it's beef. Why the heck do they want us to eat lab-grown human meat to save the planet from climate change? And then you start thinking, climate change is just a metaphor for the climate of your culture getting ready to change back to prehistory, basically. And so the normalizing of this satanic communion, satanic Eucharist, cannibalism itself, is part of the complete eradication of the image of God of man. I couldn't think of what would be one of the more heinous things a person could do than to kill somebody for the intention of eating them. Weird. And this is part of this failure to recognize the image of God in others, but also myself. I mean, for me to do that is extremely animalistic and barbaric. But this is part of the normalization of these processes, just like pedophilia, just like bestiality, just like any sort of sexual degeneracy that we would discuss. It seems to all move in the same direction. Pushing the boundaries further and further, dissolving the boundaries is the pushing of the boundaries. So now there's a dissolution between my food and my own species. Again, everything, they're dissolving all boundaries here. And that's why they're trying to normalize this stuff. It's also, like I said, the most taboo practice in recorded history. The most taboo practice in recorded history is cannibalism. And it's the symbol, it has been the symbol, and I'm talking about most religions have described cannibalistic cultures as absolutely uncivilized. And so, fathom that. Our progressive, utopian, desiring 21st century societies are trying to normalize the practices that since recorded history, groups have described those groups that are cannibals as uncivilized barbarians. They don't have higher culture. And we see the exact same happening here. And I started to think about, again, the satanic Eucharist, that the elite, who they themselves participate in these Maria Abrahamovich spirit cooking rituals, they are possessed by these demons. And this is a demonic Eucharist, meaning it really does unify. Just as the Eucharist unifies us to Christ, unifies us to God, the eating of human flesh unifies people to the demonic spirits. And I would think that there's a demonic energy, there's a demonic activity that loves the act of cannibalism, because one, it hates humanity. And if you hated humanity and you're a Satan or you're a demon or you're one of these entities that are going to no longer exist when time ends, and you hate these creatures that are within time and space that can repent and enter back into eternity, then you would want to feast on those entities. And you would possess those entities to then eat themselves. It's a demonic parasite. And that's exactly what cannibalism is. It's a demonic parasite that the more you engage in that, it literally separates you from God. It's literally making you more like an animal, and it's literally harming you at a spiritual level. And that is why the elite practice it, because there's a sort of magical power, because it unifies you with the demonic. It does the exact opposite. And so because it does the exact opposite, they want to participate in that as a magical ritual of sacrifice to acquire something in the world. Of course, they're losing their soul in the process, but again, that's the point. And that's the point why they want us to begin eating human lab-grown meat. Why? Because that is going to affect you and me at a spiritual level. We are going to be eating human people. It's bad for us. It's atrocious. It's a taboo. They want us to forcibly participate in their inversion. And so why do they participate in the spirit cooking? Because of the demonic magic. This is an efficacious practice. Look at the Aztecs. Look at the Egyptians. Look at every example of ritual cannibalism. Yes, this is a demonic Ouroboros, as Heidi H. says. Reminds me of the Ouroboros. It is a demonic. It's a satanic Ouroboros. It's the problem is, though, it's satanic Ouroboros in the sense that humanity is the snake, and the snake is possessed by demons. And the demons are the parasite that's getting the host creature to feast on itself. Maybe it doesn't eat itself, but it's eating other people. And we are a communal species. And as Christ said, we're saved together too. And so I believe this whole cannibalism, the proliferation of it, is for two reasons. One, to normalize the most taboo thing that's been recorded in human history. And if the elite can normalize cannibalism, and not only normalize it, but get us to participate in it, it's game over. There's nothing that could be criticized. On what standard? Everything can be legitimated because there is no objective morality. If we can condone and normalize the eating of other humans and human flesh, it's the ultimate dissolution of all boundaries, that if that becomes normalized, then everything is normalized. Everything. And therefore, the second part of this is not just the dissolution of all boundaries. It is a permanent separation between us and God. It is getting us to feast on death. What did I say the Eucharist is? We're feasting on life. We're feasting on Christ. We're feasting on that which defeated death. Therefore, we can't die because we participate in the eternal reality of Christ. The cannibal and this cannibalism and the cannibal culture that we exist in is doing the exact opposite. It's literally living off of death. And that's how you know it's run by Satan, because that's exactly what he does. Right? Right? His existence is only really for the reason of death right now. That's it. That's it. So it's getting people to literally become demonic demons that are disconnected with God and feasting on their own death. Feasting on their own death. And can you really live if you're eating your own death? And I'm talking about a spiritual level. I'm sure that you could eat human flesh and survive in perpetuity for a while. But you get my point. This is ultimately about a spiritual reality, getting us to feast on our own death, equating us with animals, and getting us to separate ourselves by doing the most taboo practice in recorded history and normalizing that as a societal necessity to save the planet, which is part of the paradigm of paganism and taking us back to a pre-Christian, a pre-civilized world. And that is the global village that's being substantiated through the digital electric technologies. That's my argument. So, anyways, guys, smash that like. This is what today's stream is going to be on. I got tons of articles for us to dive into. So, smash that like. Of course, want to take care of a little housekeeping real quick. And I want to say that, well, before I even do the housekeeping, guys, if you're going to Jay Dyer's event in Nashville, I am driving down tomorrow. I am so excited to meet everybody. So feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or social media if you guys plan on going and you're going to be in Nashville. I will be there tomorrow, probably around, well, it's only about 3.5 hours away from me. So anyways, I'll be there in the afternoon. I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow afternoon. If you guys are going to be there, let me know. I'll be there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then leaving midday Monday. So I'm really excited to meet everybody down at Jay Dyer's book signing and his live event. Also, guys, side note, but back to the housekeeping. If anybody would like to support Church of the Eternal Logos, the best way to support my work is to sign up as a website member. There's 2 memberships. I have one for an exclusive video library. I have another for premium memberships where you get the exclusive library, but you also get exclusive Zoom meetings with other premium members twice a month. And I'm telling you, we have great conversations. You really don't want to miss out on those. But if that's something you might be interested in, please sign up for the memberships. That's one of the best way to support Church of the Eternal Logos. Also, if you guys would like to sign up for some one-on-one sessions, you can do so with that link right there. Shout out to Jacob and shout out to Chris, a couple one-on-ones I had today. Really love chatting with you gentlemen today. God bless you both. And so if anybody else would like to talk about theology or fitness or goal setting or this or that, we can talk about anything and everything in a private one-on-one meeting. You can sign up with the link posted right there. And also don't forget that next week we're going to be diving into Hebrew roots, which will be the 4th sponsored video. And so if you would like to sponsor a topic for Church of the Eternal Logos where you basically purchase my research time ahead of time, so I will then dive into the topic of your choice and then present it and a live stream, you can do so with the link just posted now. Please sign up for a sponsored stream. It's a great way to support Church of the Eternal Logos, and it's a great way for me to talk about whatever topic you'd be interested in. So if that floats your boat, definitely do that. So guys, smash that like. With that being said, let's get further into today's stream. Okay. Let me pull up our window. Okay. So what do we got here? So I figured I want to get into a lot. I got so many articles, guys. I got the etymology of the word cannibal. I got human cannibalism. I got Boone Helm, the Kentucky cannibal. I got Jeffrey Dahmer. I got sexual cannibalism and the various, as you can see, I was going through and looking at the various examples of sexual cannibalism. There's that beautiful black widow right there. And then all these different articles. Of course, we got Tristan. Shout out to Tristan. Guys, make sure you go share this video he has, The Normalizing Cannibalism Now. And it's no surprise. You need to share. He created a 19-minute video, highly edited. It's really good stuff. You guys need to share Tristan's video. It's really good. It's jam-packed. It's not a bunch of heady stuff. Like, it's great to share with other people that are kind of, a little bit more suspicious of all this stuff and in the reality of it. Share Tristan's video. It'd be very, very beneficial. So we're going to dive into that eventually, just a clip of it. But then, here's cannibalism in the Bible. And so what does the cannibalism in the Bible? When does that show up? Well, it shows up in passages, general predictions of what would happen to the Israelites if they disobeyed God. Jeremiah and Ezekiel are specific predictions of cannibalism during the siege, and Lamentation records the fulfillment. There are two important things to remember here. One, out of the circumstances of the siege came about only after Israel persisted in doing wrong despite multiple warnings of lesser punishments. The punishment described by Leviticus comes only after the Israelites have disobeyed and ignored the punishments 5 times in succession. Prior to the actual siege, the Israelites had done more wrong than other nations that God had punished, and they ignored repeated warnings from the prophets Jeremiah and Ezekiel. And so it's interesting that cannibalism comes in the Bible as a sort of consequence for the faithful not upholding the law of God. And so God doesn't say, no, it's okay to be cannibals. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he says, he warns, and that's where Deuteronomy, it warns that if you neglect the laws of God, the messages of God, your enemies are going to consume you. And even your own people are going to become so deranged that they're going to consume each other. I mean, it's wild stuff. I mean, just right here, like the flesh and dollars of your Lord, even the most gentle and sensitive man among you will have no compassion on his own brother or the wife he loves or his surviving children. He will not give one to them any of the flesh of his children that he is eating. It will be all he has left because of all the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of all your cities. And so it goes on, but it describes, again, people just becoming absolute animals, absolutely barbaric, absolutely, horrific due to their absence of a relationship with the true God. Okay, interesting stuff there. Now I got, again, here's the famous New York Times article. We're going to read this. Does it actually normalize, or does it advocate for cannibalism? No, it's saying a taste for cannibalism. And it's talking about all these instances in culture that are normalizing cannibalism. And I guess there's, I don't watch that many movies or television shows, so I wasn't aware. But I guess multiple television shows coming out have cannibalism as some part of the narrative there. I really don't get it. Here's one, again, referring to the article I'm to read, and then we have human flesh. Looks like beef, but the taste is more elusive. So we have another woman. It's like pork or maybe veal. talking about what human meat tastes like. Yes, this is the Smithsonian Magazine. Yes, that very prestigious and prominent museum that houses American history. Yeah, they're paying journalists to eat human meat. Here's another article on, okay, what does the Bible say about cannibalism? Here is one on Wired. Again, I've got this from Tristan's video. Shout out to him. Oh no, this is a different one. The case for cannibalism there. Yeah, and so it talks about the Donner Party and how the nutritional profile of human meat's not that bad. So here's a Guardian article. What does human meat taste like? After a hoax in which a German restaurant appeared willing to serve spare body parts as gourmet meals, I tackle the burning question of the day. Yes, because so many people are now burning. What does human flesh taste like? Never contemplated it in my life. Never contemplated it in my life. Here's an article I read on cannibalism, cultures, cures, cuisines, calories. And so basically it references... this is where I was talking about the Chinese. It says, during the Yuan dynasty, 14th, 16th century, it was noted that, quote, children's meat was the best food of all in taste. The country also reported cases of children cutting off various body parts, usually a section of the thigh or upper arm, to use in dishes for their elders as a show of respect. Now, you start to dive in there. They had a history of, again, they understood they could eat healthy flesh or blood from somebody else and heal themselves. And so children would do that for their sick parents. But yeah. Children's meat was the best food of all in taste. Do you think we're going to renormalize children meat markets? Yeah, I bet it's probably coming. So keep your eyes peeled. And so let's see here. Yeah, it's... Oh, no. I want to open that. Here we go. Spirit cooking with Maria Abrahamovich. Here's just a picture of, who is that? Gwen Stefani, or is it Lady Gaga? I don't know. They kind of look all the same to me. But yeah, just pretending to eat a human body where everybody comes up and eats portions of it. Just spirit cooking. Just the same old thing. No big deal or anything. Here's just some elites, smiling and enjoying their spirit cooking with a human head on the table. The fun stuff. We're all the good food. Yeah. Here's one of a bunch of demons, aka elite celebrities, huddled around with dishes of, again, a anatomically correct human female body, which they're all about to eat. Wow. I wonder what they're doing. Yeah. Here's another of these human heads that they put at these spirit cooking events. Here's another picture of the that one there. Really exciting stuff. Really exciting stuff. Here's another image of a spirit cooker. So, yeah. Clearly, the elite participate in something very, very strange. Here's a Wired article. What's wrong with eating people? You could soon be dining on lab-grown celebrity canapes and lightly seasoned chunks of your loved ones. But is the world ready for synthesized cannibalism? I don't know. Is the world ready for such a progressive practice? I don't think so. Of course, we have Bill Gates' push for lab-grown human milk. Yeah, fake milk, fake breast milk. Of course, they want to augment your children. Here's a National Review article on Dawkins wants to eat human meat. This is, again, I got multiple of Richard Dawkins wanting to begin to grow human meat in laboratories to save the planet. Here's his tweet. Tissue culture, clean meat, already in 2018. I've long been looking forward to this. What if human meat is grown? Could we overcome our taboo against cannibalism? An interesting test case for consequentialist morality versus yuck reaction absolutism. And then, so he shares an independent article by the UK of lab-grown, quote, clean meat, could be on sale. Let's find that article, actually. Lab-grown clean meat. Lab-grown clean meat. There it is. That's the article he shared. Cultured tissue harvested without killing any animals would allow scientists to grow meals worth products for just a handful of starter cells. Okay. Looks like I got to become a member to read the rest of this beautifully intriguing article, so I think I'm going to pass. But you get the idea. Here's another article that normal atheist person Richard Dawkins wants to eat the most dangerous game, human meat. Yeah. So, anyways, I guess we can go over a few of the historical issues and then historical examples, and then I want to play Tristan's video because I want you to listen. Now, after everything that we framed, the demonic Eucharist, the inversion, the opposite of Christ, feasting on death, and then we're going to look at some of these historical examples. Then I want you to listen to Tristan talk about Jacques Attali and his advocacy for it, which is then also supported by your favorite, Dr. Klaus Schwab, and see how that kind of is consistent or jives with what I was saying earlier. So here we go. Human cannibalism. Again, the origin of the word cannibal comes from Christopher Columbus and their description of the Caribbean people. And so the savage cannibal comes from Christopher Columbus' rendition of Caribus, name for themselves, often given in modern translations. Okay, natives were believed by Europeans. And here's one of the things that I found really interesting in today's research. And I've been doing it a little bit yesterday, the last couple of days. But there's this real push. Like if you watch the TED Ed has the history of cannibalism video on YouTube. If you click on it and watch it, the whole thing's almost about 16th century Europe. And that there was a craze among the elite to drink blood or eat dry blood or get what's called mumia, pieces of dead flesh, and eat it. Okay. Disgusting. Worth noting for sure. But conspicuously, all the historical examples that we have, noteworthy examples of ritualistic cannibalism, they didn't pay as much attention to. So, of course, Papua New Guinea, they mentioned Kuru and that type of stuff. I've noticed that lately the Aztec cannibalism has become a taboo that's totally made up by the Europeans. That the Aztecs, they weren't participating in cannibalism at all. But then there's whole books where they're talking about cannibalism and how the evidence they have that they participated in ritualistic cannibalism. And then there's all these modern scholars. No, that's colonialism. Nope. That's because the colonial conquerors, they totally distorted and over-exaggerated what these people were doing. Okay, maybe so. Yeah. So anyways, that's the origin of the words. I just want to throw that out there. In regards to, let's look at some histories. So here's in regards to myth, the Wetchug is a man-eating creature or evil spirit appearing in the legends of the Athabascan people. Is a demonic cannibalistic creature that seeks out human flesh. It is a creature appearing in the Native American mythology of the Athabascan people. It is said to be half monster, half human, however, and it has many shapes and forms. Sounds like a demon. So anyways, this is referring to all the myths of different examples of cannibalism. So let's dive into some of the history here. So prehistorical examples, there's evidence both, Neanderthals. I'm just going to sum up this one right here. This whole paragraph is basically just saying that there's evidence that Neanderthals participated in cannibalism and potentially Homo sapiens ate Neanderthals. That's what this is trying to say. Okay, got it. I want to read this section, the early history section. Cannibalism is mentioned many times in early history and literature. Herodotus and the histories claim that after 11 voyage up the Dnieper in Europe, A desolated land extended for a long way, and later the country of the man-eaters, the Scythians, was located. And the Scythians, again, were sort of Turkish. It's believed that they may have been Iranian mixture people. I've seen arguments that maybe the Scythians were the origin of Buddhism. That's really interesting. But the Scythians were basically horse-riding nomads in the steppe region. And they were believed to be cannibals. And it's most likely that they participated in cannibalism in regards to the eating of their conquered warrior enemies. The tomb of an ancient king of Eunice contains a hymn of praise to the king, portraying him as a cannibal. The Stoic philosopher Chrysippus wrote on his treatise on justice that cannibalism was ethically acceptable. Polybius records that Hannibal Monomachus once suggested that the Carthaginian general Hannibal, that he teach his army to adopt cannibalism in order to be properly supplied in his travel to Italy. Although Braca and his officers could not bring themselves to practice it. In the same war, Gaius once claimed to the sentences of Capua that Barca's Gaul and Spanish mercenaries fed on human flesh, though the claim seemed to be acknowledged as false. Cassius Dio recorded cannibalism practiced by the Bucoli, Egyptian tribes led by Isidorus against Rome. They sacrificed and devoured 2 Roman officers in ritualistic fashion, swearing an oath over their entrails. And this is where you'll notice, again, almost, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I should have, but anthropologists are basically in much agreement that almost all acts of cannibalism is tied to religiosity or religion. I'm talking about outside survival. We're not talking about the Donner Party. We're not talking about examples of people about to die. You know, the Chilean or the Argentinian plane that crashed in the 80s, and they ended up eating the survivors had to eat the dead. We're not talking about that. We're talking about ritualistic cannibalism. That almost all examples of historical cannibalism were tied to a sort of religious practice or religiosity. And so according to Appian, during the Roman siege of Numantia in the 2nd century BCE, the population of Numantia was reduced to cannibalism and suicide. Cannibalism was reported by Josephus during the siege of Jerusalem. Jerome, in his letter against Jovianus, discusses how people come to their present condition as a result of their heritage, and then lists several examples of people and their customs. In the list, he mentions that he had heard that the Atacocati eat human flesh, and that the Masagate and other people kill and eat old people. Reports of cannibalism were recorded during the First Crusades, as crusaders were alleged to have fed on bodies of their dead opponents following the siege of Marah. Aman Malouf also alleges that further cannibalism incidences on the march to Jerusalem and to efforts to delete mention of these from Western history. Even though this account does not appear in any contemporary Muslim chronicle, the famine and cannibalism was recognized as described by Fulcher of Chartres, but the torture, the killing of the Muslim captives for cannibalism by Rudolph of Cain are very unlikely, since no Arab or Muslim records of the events even exist. The Moroccan Muslim Ibn Battuta reported that once African king advised him that nearby people were cannibals, although this may have been a prank played on Ibn Battuta by the king to fluster his guests. Ibn Battuta reported that Arabs and Christians were safe as their flesh was unripe and would cause the eater to fall ill. Yeah. For a brief time in Europe, an unusual form of cannibalism occurred when thousands of Egyptian mummies preserved in bitumen were ground up and sold as medicine. The practice developed into a wide-scale business which flourished until the 16th century. This fad ended because the mummies were revealed actually to be recently killed slaves. 2 centuries ago, mummies were still believed to have medical properties against bleeding and were sold as pharmaceuticals in powdered form. In China, during the Tang Dynasty, so not the Yuan Dynasty, this is a different dynasty for those of you who do not know Chinese history compared to the article we read earlier, Cannibalism was supposedly resorted by rebel forces early in the period who said to raid neighboring areas for victims to eat, as well as both soldiers and civilians besieged during the rebellion of the An Lushan. Eating the enemy's heart and liver was also claimed to be a feature of both official punishments and private vengeance. References to cannibalizing the enemy have also been seen in poetry written in the Song dynasty, totally different dynasty than the Yuan or the Tang dynasty, although the cannibalizing is perhaps poetic. But again, you see references of cannibalism in China in the Tang dynasty, the Song dynasty, and the Yuan dynasty. Charges of cannibalism against Quizlabash, the Safid Ismail. There is universal agreement that some Mesoamerican people practice human sacrifice, but there is a lack of scholarly consensus as to whether cannibalism in pre-Columbian America was widespread. At one extreme, anthropologist Marvin Harris, author of The Cannibals and Kings, has suggested that the flesh of the victims was a part of an aristocratic diet as a reward, since the Aztec diet was lacking in proteins, that is totally consistent with many of the historical examples that cannibalism often is a part of the elite. Again, the examples that I said of the warrior kings, well, it was the king of your group that ate the king of the group they just conquered. Again, it was the elite that practiced the cannibalism. Same thing when the elite's family died, how they would eat them. Same thing here. That it's very, and then look at the world now. Who do you think's pushing the cannibalism on us? It's still the elite. It's like the sort of demonic association with those who have lives of less struggle. You know, they don't have strong morality, and then they participate in these very strange practices. And so proteins, while most historians of the pre-Columbian era believe that there was ritual cannibalism related to human sacrifice, do not support Harris's thesis that human flesh was ever a significant portion of the Aztec diet. Others have hypothesized that cannibalism was part of a blood revenge in war. And so you'll see, so basically we know the Aztecs participated in cannibalism, but contemporary scholarship is so freaking reluctant to call them cannibals because they say, well, it's colonialism. The Europeans and their colonial narratives have totally disgraced the native populations and their indigenous practices. And that is just horrendous. That is white supremacy and patriarchy. And so you've seen a big push, at least I did in research for this, to really minimize Aztec cannibalism or references to it. There was a big push in my research. It looked like it tried to emphasize the sort of 16th century happening of the mamia within Europe, where they would eat the mamia. Again, not a large practice. And again, even that was amongst the elite. As we said, even it's the European elite that was practicing the mamma mia, where they were eating the Egyptian mummies, or what they thought were mummies. Some of them turned out to be dead slaves, or drinking blood or eating dry blood. They would put up in a powder. I also saw that. So anyways, with those historical examples, now I want to get into, I do want to show you guys this before we watch Tristan. This Boone Helm dude, I did not know about this guy, but I'll be driving through Kentucky tomorrow on my way to Tennessee, and so I found out that there's a guy, he other than Jeffrey Dahmer, he's kind of the most noteworthy American cannibal. And so this guy named Boone Helm was an American mountain man, Old West gunfighter, and serial killer known as the Kentucky Cannibal. Helm gained his nickname for his opportunistic and unrepentant proclivity for consuming human flesh, it was not usually in survival situations. Again, I looked some of this stuff up. There was one instance in survival, and then he did it. Then he began a practice of it where he would publicly brag about how many people he ate. Though instances of killing people for their meat unprovoked were also documented. No, he bragged about it. And eventually he was captured. So here's the serial murder and cannibalism. So he was in Kentucky. There was an argument or something. Let's see here. Married could you imagine being a 17-year-old girl marrying a cannibal and a total degenerate? I mean, he murdered multiple people. And so in the demonstration, so anyways, this guy had really weird. So here we go. In 1850, this dude, like, his whole life was demonic. And so he grew up in a fairly nice, well-to-do Kentucky home. They he had opportunity to learn, opportunity to education, all this stuff. But he was always, ever since as a kid, they described him as like wanting to inflict pain on animals, like weird stuff like that. Okay. In 1852, Helm married a 17-year-old Lucinda Frances Browning and fathered a daughter, Lucy. He became known for his heavy drinking, riding his horse into the house and beating his wife. The domestic violence grew to such an extent that Lucinda petitioned for divorce. Helm's father paid for the costs. His own dad paid his son's wife to divorce him. And of course, then Boone Helm here, having bankrupted his father and ruined his family's reputation, Helm decided to move to California in search of gold. And so this was during the height of the gold rush in California. And so then he goes to California, and I believe he already, but this doesn't say that I learned. Okay, so for the journey to California, Helm asked his cousin, Literary Shute, to accompany him. Shute initially agreed, but when he attempted to back out of the trip, an angered Helm murdered him by stabbing him in the chest and headed west alone. Yes, so this is the first known murder by Boone Helm. He killed his own cousin who was going to help him and go to California with him, but then his cousin kind of backed out. I mean, can you imagine going across the country in 1852 all the way to California? I mean, I guess the Northern California too. From Kentucky. Long trip. The dude killed his own cousin. Okay? He was pursued and captured by Littleberry's brothers and friends, but his antics in captivity quickly landed him in a mental asylum. Upon entering the asylum, Helm became taciturn and convinced his guard to take him on walks through the woods. After these walks became routine, Helm was able to escape. So he normalized it. Eventually, then he beat the guy and ran off in the woods, and he escaped the mental asylum. An attack by Native Americans on the way to Fort Hall, this was in Idaho, forced Helm and his party into the wilderness. So this is then after he's already killed his cousin. The guy's a maniac, beat his wife. His dad helped his now ex-wife divorce him because he was so violent. And the weird thing in his life, he always got out of things. Like every time he got in trouble, somehow he got out of it. So anyways, there was an attack by these Native Americans in Idaho. Short on provisions, the men killed their horses, ate the meat, and made snowshoes out of their hides. The journey was arduous, reducing the party down to Helm and a man named Burton. When Burton could no longer further, Helm left him, only to return in time to hear Burton taking his own life with a pistol. Helm ate one of Burton's legs and wrapped the other to take with him on his journey. Helm was finally discovered by a man named John Powell at an Indian camp. Powell agreed to let Helm accompany him to Salt Lake City, Utah. But despite having over $1,400 in coins on his person, Helm reportedly neither paid nor thanked Powell for his generosity. Again, typical of this guy. Upon reaching San Francisco, Helm killed a rancher who had befriended him and taken him in. He then traveled to Oregon and resumed robbing people for a living, frequently murdering them. In 1862, and what it's not saying is that he already developed a reputation. By the time he got to Oregon, he had a reputation for killing people for no apparent reason and eating them and then going in public and bragging about it. In 1862, after heavily drinking, Helm gunned down an unarmed man named Dutch Fred in a saloon and fled. While on the run, Helm ate another fugitive who had been accompanying him. Captured by the authorities, Helm implored his brother Old Tex, one of Helm's 12 siblings, for assistance with a considerable amount of money. Old Tex paid off all the witnesses. Unable to convict Helm, the authorities released him and accompanied his brother to Texas. Helm soon reappeared So then again, he gets out from these murder charges, and then thank God for these vigilantes. So the Montana vigilantes hanged Helm, Gallagher, and other members of the gang. So he got the notorious Henry Palmer and his gang. Helm and the 4 other gang members were captured, arrested, and tried in secret. And so that was really interesting. That, again, it was some vigilantes had to take justice on their own. And so they captured this guy along with some other criminals, and they killed him publicly. So anyways, I thought that was a really interesting story of a guy I'd never heard of in American history. And that is, again, Boone Helm. And so you can see this, the most notorious, or one of, I guess Jeffrey Dahmer is also notorious, but absolutely demonic. Everything in this dude's life was like evil. He had no loyalty, no respect, no anything. So now I want to jump over, and again, I want to share this link with you guys. Share Tristan's video, guys. Everybody watching, share Tristan's video. He made a great video yesterday, or posted. He probably spent a few days working on it. Oh, crap. Probably... where was it? Crap. I had it all set up, and then of course I blow it. All right. So let's watch Tristan. And now what I want to do is I want you guys to think about, again, everything that I kind of opened my monologue with. But look at Jacques Attali. Look at what this guy's advocating for. So this is Jacques Attali. And again, share this video of Tristan's. Share this video of Tristan's. Guys, I shared the link in the live chat. And also shout out to everybody over on The Rock. Here is the link to Tristan's video. Guys, share Tristan's video. It's really good stuff. And so I want to watch this real quick and listen. I'm going to be stopping it quickly, but listen to Jacques Attali and cannibalism being normalized in the future, and tie this again to what I've talked about spiritually, the opposite of the Eucharist, this being a satanic communion, that the whole cannibalism is a way for us to feast on death, which is how the demons live right now, and they're trying to create us all to become basically demons, feasting on humans. So again, shout out to the Tristan. But I want to play this video now talking about Jacques Attali, and we're going to stop it at really important points.
Bank for Reconstruction and Development. He's kind of close with the Klaus Schwab World Economic Forum crew. He's got many articles that are translated into English. French is his primary language, and you can get a copy of his book in English, of A Brief History of the Future. 1981, Michel Salomon did an interview with Jacques Attali, specifically about the themes of his book, The Cannibal Order, or the Power and Decline of Medicine. Jacques Attali sees medicine and sees cannibalism as kind of eternally yoked. Right? He sees cannibalism as this almost cosmic cleansing and ritualistic medicinal technique.
Why? Because of magic. Magic, right? The sympathetic relationships in magic, the ways, the way you'd heal a heart is to eat like an animal heart, right? That was sort of a sympathetic relationship. And I'm not even disagreeing. I mean, I think the nutrition profile of organ meat is quite considerable, and I think worth noting. But this sort of magical association between cannibalism and medicine, right? We're again, the exact opposite of the physician of souls, Jesus Christ, the Eucharist, right? It's through the Eucharist that we actually become unified with God, fully healed, restored. And this Jacques Attali, again, a member of the World Economic Forum and sort of, certainly a close friend of the Klaus Schwab, wants to again point out, and we're going to listen to Tristan here, how cannibalism and the medical community are inextricably linked. Now, again, think of demonic magic. Think of an inverted world. Think of demons.
It might sound strange, but the way he explains it, his rationale is that, well, your body goes through catabolic processes, and your body itself is actually involved in cannibalistic processes, right? When you're going through any sort of healing in order to, for a wound to heal, sometimes you have to cauterize it. Sometimes you have to rip off and flay off dead tissue. Sometimes your body has to go through catabolic processes, what we call like autophagy now, where your body will kill and even consume dead cells, right? That's how your body gets rid of things like cancer cells, through the processes of autophagy. So he's kind of got this.
So you see, as Tristan's making the case, he takes an example that, yeah, the human body is a self-containing system. Yeah, that's not the same thing as cannibalism. The fact that he wants to equate this to cannibalism is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, as Tristan's highlighting here. Guys, go follow Tristan Haggard. Here, let me also share a link to his channel, because he renamed it. It's no longer Primal Edge Health. It is Tristan Haggard. And so he needs to change the URL. It still says Primal Edge Health. But everybody, go follow Tristan Haggard. I assume everybody here probably already does. If you don't, go follow Tristan Haggard. Go follow Tristan Haggard. There's a link to his YouTube channel right there. Okay, so
you're like, oh, slippery slope, man. Well, your body's kind of your body's kind of a cannibal itself. So what's wrong with maybe eating some people? What's wrong with maybe cloning people and then using their organs? Well, what would be inherently wrong with that? Right, so all medicine is just basically cannibalism, right? He talks about kind of the this cannibalism as like this metaphysical binding ritual for cultures in order to excise, sick and depraved parts of society. The way that he
it also, one of the things I thought when I was listening to Tristan earlier on this section is like, isn't it funny? Okay, so we see a prominent member of the Great Reset equating cannibalism with the medical community and medicine itself. Certainly not consistent with the Orthodox or Christian understanding, especially with Christ being the physician of souls, how we understand health and healing and all this stuff. But isn't it make a whole lot of sense then when we start to look at 2020 and 2021 and the medical procedures and getting boosted and the GB jab, that medicine and cannibalism are inextricably linked? Huh. Did the medical community just feast upon people? Did the medical community, did the pharmaceutical community just cannibalize people through the 2020 pandemic? Worth thinking about. Worth the metaphorical association, I'm sure.
Rather strange, because he goes on to speak about how in the future things like euthanasia are going to be essential, right? Euthanasia is going to be one of the essential instruments of our future societies in all cases, he says, in a socialist logic to begin with, and he defines himself as a socialist. He says, in a socialist logic to begin with, the problem is as follows. Socialist logic is freedom, and fundamental freedom is suicide. Consequently, the right to direct or indirect suicide is an absolute value in this type of society. Very strange. He also says that as a socialist, he's absolutely opposed to life extension. Opposed to life extension as a socialist, because life extension is not the point. The point is to reduce our need to work.
And I love those 2 points. Why? Okay, so think of it from a Christian paradigm. Work is essential, right? Labor, right? Work is a sort of devotional practice. Now, I don't mean the Protestant work ethic. I don't mean capitalism. I don't mean the sort of consumeristic acquirement of just material things. But quality, competent work has always been a virtue. And so when I did some one-on-ones, we talk about how, there's no quick fix, that the sort of Christian way is a way of labor. We got to work on our spiritual life. We got to work on our physical life. We got to work on our relationships. We got to work on everything. That our worldview is recalling us and requiring us to work. And it's through work that we actually gain peace and satisfaction and meaning and all these different things. And so it's tied to responsibility. And so our worldview is also, as Christians, we are in opposition to death. Christ defeated death. Death is the enemy. And so it's funny how death isn't the enemy, work is the enemy for Jacques Attali. He, die when you're 30 years old, die when you're 20 years old, and go ahead and cannibalize other people. Just go ahead and get out of the way, get off the planet, and yeah, and just eat your insects.
Right. It's got this like the obsessive kind of spurgy economics view of life. Right. Life is just economics. Right? Human beings are just economic animals. In fact, human beings will even be subject to production. This is crazy. He says, he's asked, do you see the forced normalization governing all areas of life, including sexuality, since science today allows for almost total dissociation of sexuality in conception? He doesn't believe that we need this like top-down totalitarianism. He says that we're going to have a soft totalitarianism where a surveillance culture of everybody surveilling each other. And he expands on this idea in Brief History of the Future, where he says that nomadic devices, right, cell phones, he wrote this long before smartphones were in existence.
And what type of people were those that practiced cannibalism? Nomads. Ah, yeah.
His book, Brief History of the Future, he says these nomadic devices will become surveillance devices, and we will live in a surveillance society. And he even says that health will be one of the main things that is being surveilled. He even predicts that you are going to have health passports. Yeah, sound familiar? So Attali says, from an economic point of view, there are two reasons why I think we'll go very far as normalization of the governing of all aspects of life. He says the first is that production of men is not yet a market like any other. Following the logic of my general reasoning, it is impossible to see why procreation should not become an economic production like any other. So everything's just economics.
It's all, it's all a centrally organized process.
This is insane. So he even talks about the commoditization of the womb. He says we can have rental matrices that are already technically possible. Dave Rubin and his boyfriend basically bought some lady's womb.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to end Tristan there. Guys, you got to watch this video. He did a great video. Go subscribe to Tristan Haggard. Go watch this video. I'm going to share it again in the live chat. Shout out to the Tristan Haggard. I got to have him back on here soon. Love Tristan. God bless him and his beautiful family. Hope they're doing well down in old South America. But moving on here, let's look at this sort of article that caused all this controversy. Is A Taste for Cannibalism. This is the New York Times article that was published a few days ago. An image to Chelsea G. Summers, a boyfriend accidentally on purpose hit by a car, some quick work with a corkscrew, and his liver served Tuscan style on toast. What? This figment of her twisted imagination is what prompted Miss Summers to write her novel, A Certain Hunger, about a restaurant critic with a taste for female flesh, or for male human flesh. So again, isn't it funny? You know she's a radical feminist. We tied into the Indian group that here. Let me find it just so we're all on the same page. Here we go. The Binderwers, of central India, ate their sick and aged in the belief that the act was pleasing to their goddess Kali. In Mexico, thousands of human victims were sacrificed annually by the Aztecs to their deities. After the ceremony of sacrifice, the priest and the populace ate the bodies of the victims, believing that it would bring them closer to their gods. So that is, again, the sort of ritualistic cannibalism. That's the inversion of our Eucharist. But yeah, back to that. I wanted to point the association. We had the tantric goddess Kali. We had cannibalism. The sexual cannibalism of like things like the Black Widow, right? That were the woman, the female, the male basically gets one opportunity to impregnate her, and then she consumes him, and that she is a more dominant creature, right? Literally physically bigger and stronger. And isn't it funny then? And I equated that to radical feminism. I have an old video like over 2 years ago equating radical feminism to the sort of goddess Kali. And so I thought that was so funny how in my mind it all sort of got wrapped back up together. Turns out cannibalism has a time and a place. No, it doesn't. What? Guys, this is New York Times. This is a brand new article telling you there's a time and a place for cannibalism. In the passages of some recent stomach-churning books and on television and film screens, Miss Summers and others suggest that the time for cannibalism is now. There is, quote, Yellow Jackets, a Showtime series about a high school women's soccer team stranded in the woods for a few months too many, which premiered in November. The film, quote, Fresh, released on Hulu in March, involves an underground human meat trade for the rich. I bet that's definitely not based on real events. An underground human meat trade for the rich? You know that's happening. You know that's happening right now. Lapvona, Otessa Moshfegh's novel published in June portrays cannibalism in a medieval village overcome by plague and drought. Agustina Baztereka's book, Tender is the Flesh, released in English in 2020 and in Spanish in 2017, imagines a future society that farms humans like cattle. Also out in 2017, quote-unquote Raw, a film by the director and screenwriter Julia Ducronow, tells the story of a vegetarian veterinary student whose taste for meat escalates after consuming raw offal. Still to come is Bones and All, starring Timothy Chalamet. The movie about a young love that becomes a lust for human consumption is expected to be released later this year or early next. Its director Luca Guadagnino has called the story extremely romantic. Oh my gosh, it's so romantic. They end up eating each other. The fascination with cannibalism, perhaps not surprisingly, can toe a fine line as Miss Summers lean towards writing a certain hunger. Anyways, I'm not even going to read the rest of this article. So Bill Shutt, the author of Cannibalism, A Perfectly Natural History, says that fictional plots about eating humans are as old as literature itself. Yes, but those were myths. These are trying to be normalized, pointing to examples that include the meat-eating cyclopses of Homer's Odyssey. Yes. When you take something that is so horrible and put through the lens of fictionalization, he said, we get charged up about it. And we know we're safe, at least for the most time. Mr. Shoot only made it halfway through Hulu's Fresh before he had to stop the movie. It was almost too well done, he said. No pun intended. Too well done. Gosh, these people are retarded. But his book documents cannibalism has occurred around the world throughout history, lending these fictional tales as queasy whiff of what if. No. Yeah. So you see, it doesn't come out and say, hey, go eat human flesh, but it's not that bad. Look at all these authors. Look at all these movies. Look at all these TV shows. I mean, animals do it. I mean, it's good. The climate. So, anyways, and if you guys want to read this article, read it, because you can't, unless you're a New York Times member, you can't actually read the original article. So here is the article from a different site, Meta News. That way you can. So, anyways, moving on, and I'm not going to read this. Like I said, here's the Smithsonian Magazine on human flesh looks like beef. Oh my gosh, these people are disgusting. I don't even know how these people write this stuff with a straight face. I really do not. Anyways, this dude right here, Martin Robbins, went and tried human flesh and talked about how it tastes like zeal. And that's basically what I've saw multiple times, is that it, quote unquote, tastes like zeal. But Unreal. Here's a good, decent article on Britannica. I mean, it's super quick, but if you guys want to read that, let me share that link with you guys. Hey, guys, smash that like and send in those super chats. I'm getting ready to dive into the super chats right now. I just want to share a few more things. Here, oh my gosh, I'll share this with you guys, but here's an article from 2017, again, advocating for cannibalism. If you guys want to read that nonsense, there's that. And that's in, again, Tristan's video. Guys, make sure you watch Tristan's video and share Tristan's video. So here's a National Review article that's actually critical of Dick Dawkins. Many of the articles are actually proponents of Dick Dawkins. So the National Review is a quote-unquote conservative news source here in the U.S. and says... no, he doesn't want to join the Donner Party. Researchers may soon be able to manufacture meat from cell lines in a lab, and Dawkins has suggested in a tweet that we could overcome our taboo by eating human flesh so manufactured. Quote, what if human meat is grown? Could we overcome our taboo against cannibalism? An interesting test case. Oh, my God. Cannibalism is profoundly immoral in Western culture. Absent absolute necessity, such as when members of the Donner Party consume their already deceased co-travelers to stay alive, because it denies human exceptionalism and the unique dignity of meaning of human life. The view extends even to those who have died, which is why we treat the deceased in a respectful manner, and why desecrating the dead is considered to be immoral and against the law, even in war. Dawkins, of course, rejects the concept of considering it specialist discrimination, meaning that we're no different than animals. He thinks we are just a collection of carbon molecules and certainly of no intrinsic values, simply and merely because we are human. This misanthropy may flow from his atheism, but a non-theistic belief system does not mandate the rejection of human exceptionalism. As my wonderful friend and late great atheist Not Hintoff, there is no great atheist. There's no such thing as a great atheist. That's an oxymoron. The unique and inherent equal dignity of every human life is a core belief in Judeo-Christian moral philosophy and foundation principle of Western civilization. Indeed, every historical evil committed in the West, slavery, eugenics, Jim Crow, the Holocaust, the Inquisition, you name it, flow directly from the rejecting or disregarding of that principle. Seen in this light, Dawkins' cannibalistic yearning, there is no reason to eat human meat except as a means of sticking a finger to the Judeo-Christian eye, is both decadent and subversive. So that is Dick Dawkins for you guys. When he's not out there battling those theists, he's advocating for cannibalism. So really good stuff. But anyways, guys, that is going to conclude today's stream. Please smash that like and send in those super chats if you would like to support the stream. I'm going to dive into those right now. So first, super chat from tonight comes from Meta Ninjas. Meta Ninjas throws in a super chat and says, finally catching alive. Well, shout out Meta Ninjas. God bless you, brother. I hope you can make the members meeting next Thursday. We got a premium members meeting, Meta Ninjas. Hope you can make it, brother. Be there. It's been a lot of fun. Again, Meta Ninja throws in a very nice super chat of $50. Finally catching alive. God bless you, Meta Ninjas. Next super chat comes from the Bone Man 538. Shout out to the Bone Man 538. Always a supporter of the stream. Longtime supporter. And said, Bone Man 538 says, Cain and Abel, cannibal. It is a Cain-Abel system. Ooh, Bone Man. What a great wordplay there. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, again, technically, the etymology comes from the Caribbean, but I like that wordplay. Cain and Abel, cannibal. It is a, quote, Cain-Abel system, meaning Cain killed Abel. Cain killed Abel. I love that. Bone Man 538. What a great super chat, bro. You always send in great super chats. So shout out to Bone Man 538 for the $5 super chat. Cain and Abel, ... cannibal, ... It is a, quote, Cain able, unquote, system. A killing of your brother, a killing of man. Gosh, what a great super chat. Shout out to Bowman538. Bowman538 with another one throws in a $5 super chat and says, the mead of poetry with Odin is similar. They would sacrifice these archetypal figures and consume their blood because they thought the wisdom could be consumed. Exactly. There's always been this belief with blood. And so the fact that Christianity makes the same claims but doesn't actually use blood is, again, anti-cannibalism. It's the opposite of the cannibalistic practice. Christianity is the exact opposite. And yet it actually does connect you with true divinity in the transcendent realm. Unreal, right? It's very unique. So again, shout out to Bowman538, throws another $5 super chat, says the meat of poetry with Odin is similar. They would sacrifice these archetypal figures and consume their blood because they thought the wisdom could be consumed. Ugh. Shout out to Bone Man. Next super chat comes from Pim Orsos. Shout out to Pim, another great supporter. God bless you, Pim. Thank you, brother, for all the support, man. Again, he signed up for the sponsored stream. He paid for the Kazaria stream. So God bless Pim. Throws in $20. No message. Shout out to Pim. Thank you so much, brother. No message, just $20. God bless you. Next super chat comes from Meta Ninjas. Throws in $1 and says Femi Fatele, Marco Melgrati. Look it up. What? Okay. All right, let's see here. Femme Fatale. Marco Melgrati. Okay. And so, again, I'm going to open my screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Here is Bone Man trying to... he's telling me to look this up. Okay. Femme Fatale. Where is it at? Oh, it must be a work of art. Okay, let's go images. Oh my gosh. Bro. Dude, this is amazing. This is amazing. I love this. Oh my gosh, shout out to Meta Ninja. I was talking earlier about sexual cannibalism and how the majority of almost all the instances are females cannibalizing the males, especially within like the spiders. There's a few examples in the spiders where the males are actually bigger and eat the females. But the vast majority are females eating males. And I equated that, again, looking at the thirst trap stream I did and all the sexualization of our society, that are we in a sort of sexual cannibalism society where we're, again, the inversion of the sexual roles and the sort of leverage and domination of women and the power that they exert in society is sort of inverting the roles, and it's kind of consistent with these cannibalistic societies? I don't know. But praying mantises are also cannibalistic. Female praying mantises eat male mantises. And so this piece of art is doing exactly what we were talking about. The female, again, she is the sort of praying mantis that's getting ready to consume the man. She's getting ready to, that's why it's showing the shadows of praying mantis, because the females eat the males. And that's what's being shown here in this work of art. Genius. Absolutely genius. Meta Ninjas for telling me to look this up. Absolutely genius. I love this work of art. This is phenomenal. This is exactly what I was talking about. I love that. Gosh, shout out to Meta Ninjas for the $1 super chat. Femi Fatale. Here, I'll share this with everybody so they can look it up as well. So if you guys want to find that work of art, I'm going to share it in the live chat right here. There it is. Femme Fatale by Marco Melgrati. I love that, bro. What a perfect super chat, dude. That was I was not aware of that work of art, but that's exactly what I was talking about. Femme Fatal. I don't know. So yeah, check that out, guys. Okay, next super chat comes from Rockfin. And we got a super chat from Monty Mole. Monty Mole throws in $10. Shout out to Monty Mole and says, I'm the world's worst catechumen. Thanks for the continued great work. Your streams help me stay motivated and inspired as I work 60 hours a week on a 90-acre cannabis farm. It's a wild balance. Well, Monty Mole, yeah, I would say that is first, glory to God that you are a catechumen. I would say working on a 90-acre cannabis farm would certainly be tempting and difficult, being Orthodox. But hey, glad you're a catechumen. Thank you very much, brother, for the $10 super chat. And wish you nothing but the best of luck, bro. Continue down the journey. No matter where you're at, if you still are smoking weed, all good. Work on it. Keep going to church. Talk to a priest. Keep going to liturgy. Stay in the ortho community, bro, and it'll all get better. So yeah. So anyway, shout out for Monty Mole for the $10 super chat. Next one comes from Frankie D. Frankie D throws in $5 and says, "What up, bro? What up, Frankie D? What up, my homie? Hope you're doing well, bro." He says, "Hope you are well." I hope you are well. Missing the stream, but wanted to show support. God bless, brother. Well, thank you so much, Frankie D, bro. Frankie D throws in a $5 super chat, and he's not even here to watch the stream. That's how good of a supporter Frankie D is. Gosh, thank you so much, Frankie D. God bless you, bro. God bless you. See Me Roland throws in another $5 and says, or throws in a $5. I see he threw in two, and says, "What a world, what a time, what a world, what a time." It sounds like you're getting ready to say, isn't that the Wayne Newton song, like when he was a kid? Anyways. See Me Roland throws in $5, says, "What a world, what a time." Yeah, no joke about that. Thank you so much. See me Roland, continual supporter of the stream. God bless you, bro. Thank you so much. And he throws in another one and says, "When morality is relative, all is permitted, baby." That's exactly it. When morality is relative, all is permitted, baby. And that's exactly what we're seeing in society today. So it's unfortunate, but it is the case. And it looks like last super chat just came in from Veronica. Shout out to Veronica. Throws in $5. God bless Veronica. She says, "Thanks for another stream." Well, thank you, Veronica, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. She said, "Still looking for an ortho church in my area. I sent a few emails and no one responded. Pretty bummed. Can you and chat keep me in your prayer list, on your prayer list for guidance in my search?" Thank you. Yes, Veronica. Absolutely. Everybody in the live chat and over on Rockfin, say a prayer tonight for Veronica and her journey into orthodoxy. She's looking for a church to attend. Veronica, I would say sometimes, it's the churches aren't quick at getting back to you through their email list or however you're contacting them. Sometimes the best way to go, even though it's going to be very awkward, is just to find the church that's close and just go. And you'll see the priest there and you'll talk and everybody will catch up. Unless you really want to set something up with the priest ahead of time, what you can do is just go one day. And you're going to be like a sore thumb. Everybody's going to see you. You're not going to know when to cross yourself. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel maybe embarrassed. Just stand in the back. Just observe. Just watch. And that's where it is nice. As you did, you try to reach out. It is nice if you're able to contact the priest ahead of time, because usually then they are expecting you, and you can let them know, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. This is my first time. I'm an inquirer." And then you can kind of stand in the back and watch everything and kind of take it in and not feel so awkward. Because when you go in there, everybody's going to know you're new. And it's just natural to feel I felt really, really awkward first time I went. First time I went to a liturgy, everybody was Russian. Everybody was speaking Russian. And I was dressed to the nine as like a Protestant, and everybody else was just in sort of more regular clothes. So I felt super awkward first time I went to an Orthodox church. But you did the right thing. Email a priest. It's just unfortunate. I've heard this multiple times. It sounds like priests, some of these churches are just really slow at getting back to people. And Veronica says, chat always gives me good advice through this. Yeah, well, again, we have the best chat. We have the best chat online, right? The COTEL live chat's the best chat online. So you're more than welcome here, Veronica. So yeah, I'll definitely say a prayer for you tonight. Everybody put Veronica's name on your prayer list tonight and say a prayer for her that God and the Holy Spirit will guide her into the church, because it's very difficult. It's kind of scary. It's awkward to get into. So I totally understand what you're feeling and what you're thinking. But we can say a prayer, and, sometimes you just gotta, just go to church. Just go, and then you'll meet the priest. Veronica said, it's difficult for me to church hop with my toddler in tow. Yeah, agreed. So, I would just go, if nobody reaches out, just go to the nearest church to you. Just go to the nearest church to you and, let things fall where they may. And I guarantee you providence will occur. Somebody will reach out to you. The priest will be good, or you'll know not to go. It's all providence. So I would recommend, if nobody reaches out to you before, let's say, tomorrow or Saturday, and also you could go on Saturday. Almost, all churches are going to have a Saturday night Vesper service, a prayer service leading into liturgy. Technically, that's the beginning of the liturgical service. So you could go then too. So maybe Saturday night, Veronica, might be a good time to go to the church that's closest to you. It's not going to be as much pressure, a lot less people. You won't feel as awkward, and you can also speak to the priest after the Vesper service. They're usually like 50 minutes, maybe a little over an hour, and then talk to the priest, and then you'll be more comfortable. And then when you come on liturgy Sunday morning, at least some of that awkwardness can already kind of be dealt with. So, that'd be my advice, is maybe go to Vespers this Saturday. If they don't reach out, if you don't go to Vespers, maybe just go to a liturgy this Sunday. It's going to be awkward. You're going to feel awkward. But again, if you're in this and you've been watching content, me or Dyer and all these people, you're going to know a lot more than most people. And I'm sure the priest is going to really appreciate that. And so are the other Orthodox people. So you'll be welcome with open arms. So people will love that you come, you and your toddler. But yeah, it can be awkward. So thank you so much, Veronica, for the $5 super chat. God bless you. Again, she's Kingdom Kid in the live chat. So everybody say a prayer for Veronica tonight and wish her the best of luck in her entry into the church. Next super chat comes from Andrew92HT. And he throws in $9.99. Shout out to Andrew. Throws in $9.99 and says, pop culture was into zombies, flesh eating, vampires / Twilight, drinking blood. And now cannibalism is being discussed. Dua Lipa recently released a music video, Hansel and Gretel themed, eating the men. Whoa. See, I didn't even know about the Dua Lipa music video, but you see, it's all organized. She does a music video that happens to be cannibalistic the same time we see the normalization through all these articles. Give me a break. So great super chat, Andrew92HT. I think that's 92 high T levels is what that stands for. I don't know. But again, Andrew, shout out to Andrew. Thank you very much, brother, for the $9.99 super chat. Says pop culture was into zombies, flesh eating, vampires / Twilight, drinking blood, and now cannibalism is being discussed. And Dua Lipa recently released a music video, Hansel and Gretel themed, eating the men. We see it. It's the sexual cannibalism. The Black Widow is now the Black Widow and the that's a whole stream. The Black Widow and the Jezebel, how those two archetypes are now being fused together. The Black Widow and the Jezebel. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it. Make sure you smash that like, everybody that's here. Again, a special shout out to everybody. Make sure you pray for Veronica tonight, guys. Say a prayer for Veronica. Special shout out to everybody who supported the stream and super chatted. I want to give a very special shout out to Boneman538 and a special shout out to Meta Ninjas for some great super chats. Special shout out to Pim Orsos. Shout out to Pim. Another special shout out to the Frankie D. God bless you, brother, and thank you so much for all the support, man. Continual support of the stream. God bless you, Frankie D. And special shout out to See Me Rollin'. Special shout out to Veronica, the Kingdom Kid. We will say a prayer for you and your toddler that you may be guided by the embracing arms of the church. And a special shout out to Andrew92HT. Guys, that is going to do tonight's stream. I will be back Tuesday with another stream because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I'm going to be in Nashville with Jay Dyer. So I am really looking forward to meeting everybody at the Jay Dyer meetup. Everybody that's going to go to Nashville, cannot wait to meet you guys. It's going to be so much fun this weekend. So God bless everybody. And I will see you all Tuesday of next week. We're going to have a little bit of a hiatus. So God bless you all. And as always, until next time.